to make it appropriate. One person I met at the animation summit, I ran into her about a week or two ago. He admitted to unfollowing me because he said he was trying to get hired somewhere. Yes.
The fact that it's like kind of in the air.
Because I read,
it just goes
like one of the guys that worked on Morgan Dragon.
I'll do this.
So apparently in the interview process, he was like, this is what's going to happen to your work.
Yeah. I don't know. How do you tighten it?
Yeah.
Just like this?
You can hear me clap twice. You can hear me clap 3 times. Perfect. Everybody, thank you for coming today to our mixer. This is such a fantastic turnout for Todd. So our very special guest today, Todd, who we will bring over here to talk about being a director and also what a director looks inside for real as well too. First, a couple different little small announcements. Todd, if you could help me just press the key over there. Okay, there. So, quick announcement. So sorry, it was supposed to be like the showcase is supposed to be next month. It's my bad, I have dyslexia. I kind of messed up June and July. So June is actually Todd as our guest, and July for next month we're going to be having a work in progress showcase. For the work in progress showcase, you can actually submit your own work, so that way we can showcase it on the screen, or we can set up a table for you to showcase your work. So if anybody's interested, please submit in before the 5th. And then we'll give an announcement on the 10th for how many work we can put on the screen. But even so, if you don't get into the screen or the booth, just bring your work anyways, because we want everybody to be able to share that. And the other thing is we still have our live drawing session going on until to the end of the year at Piedmont Park. So for those that are interested, we'll have on June 12th, July 17th, August 21st, September 11th, and October 16th. So it's usually at the Piedmont Park Conservancy Community Center from 7 to 9 p.m., hosted by our legacy leadership, Joe Peary. Joe Peary has been doing this for a very, very long time, and he's just keeping it low cost at $10. But for ASIFA members, every month you get a code in your newsletter, so that way you can go for free. So please come out and support the program if you can.
I'm going to add that Joe is awesome, and he's been doing that figure drawing, heading that up for as long as I can remember, when I was that big. So it's great.
Yeah, Joe is really fantastic. But still, we're going to get into our free feature presentations. But of course, if anybody wants to get any snacks and drinks, we are going to close up the snacks and drinks at around 8:40. So just go over there and grab some if you can. And then Todd, will you come over and start your presentation?
Already?
Yes, already.
Wow, okay.
And anybody who wants any Q&As, there is the pigeonhole on the side. You can take a code picture, and then we'll pass the mic at the end. But for those of you that don't feel comfortable with the mic, we'll just go ahead and take your questions here at the end.
Awesome. You guys, don't be shy. You can talk to me. Some of you people know me already and know that I'm not that kind of person. So I'm very loose, and I'd love to hear from each and every one of you. Wow, okay, I see myself. I just want to start, I wanted to talk to you guys especially about, I want everybody working. I really want all of us working, and jobs suck right now in the art world. So if you've got any kind of art job whatsoever, then you've won the lottery, because it's very tough to get any art jobs right now. So I am wanting to, try to see what I can do to help you guys and let you know, as a director, what am I looking for as a director? Like, when I look at your reels, when I look at your portfolios, what am I looking for? So I wanted to go over that real quick. First of all, a little bit about me is, and this is the part I hate, is I don't like talking about myself too much. So I have been working in this industry for 25 plus years. I've worked on 26 I know it's over 20 different animated productions, and that's just the shows. I've done tons and tons of commercials. Way back when, I did a lot of stuff for Cartoon Network on paper. We were doing a lot of Powerpuff Girls and Scooby-Doo and Dexter's Laboratory, a bunch of those kind of commercials that we were doing on paper. So you can imagine on paper, those things they look like they were done in a computer, but they were on paper back then. Crazy. Those big, thick outlines. It was crazy. So I've done a lot of those. I've worked on shows that you would know. I've worked on Archer as a director. I've worked on Aqua Teen as a director. I've worked on, there's a show called Unsupervised that I did for FX, and then another show called Chosen on FX, and then I did Hit Monkey. I worked on Hit Monkey a bit. At the Hit Monkey though, it hit at a certain time where I was kind of in between projects, and I was already slated to work on something else. So I kind of helped for a while. So I helped develop the characters and build the characters, and then Eric over there so kindly built them in 3D and gave me a little Hit Monkey thing of it. So that was great. I still gotta get a price. I don't have a price, so we need to talk. And did a show called Dicktown. I directed that one. It was on Hulu, and it's a cute show. You should watch it. And the last project I did was Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I directed the last season that's aired of Aqua Teen, where we did 5 episodes, and we did it a little differently than the old ones. But I worked on the old show for 10 years, the first 10 years when we developed the show, and I worked on that. So that was kind of my entry into making TV shows, which was not how normal shows are made. So anyway, enough about me, more about you. What am I looking for? I've got a cheat sheet here. Because I will ramble, as some of you know, I will ramble. So I gotta stay on task, or Ginger's gonna spank me. Okay, let's start with your portfolio. When you're doing your portfolio or your reel, I'm going to kind of loop them together a little bit, even though they're very much quite different. On your reel, keep it to a minute, maybe a little bit. Try to keep it as best to a minute as you can. Once it starts going over that, it's useless. It doesn't matter. As an art director, what I'm doing is I'm looking at your reel, and the very first thing I see, it's boom. I've already got you in a category already. So put your best stuff at the front of your reel, because art directors usually don't have a lot of time to sit and go through all your reel, and it's like you know pretty quickly if this is going to be in the maybe pile or it's a no. Because I've had, I was hiring one time, and I had, actually, when I was just hiring for Aqua Teen, I had like 150 applicants for animators, and of those, I think I chose 5. I could only hire 5. Something like that. Yeah, that guy was one of them. So, you can't, you gotta be quick. And I had to go through, I went through personally every single one of those reels. So, you gotta make it quick. Now, sometimes they have other people go through them and then weed them down to a narrow few and then hand it off. But keep your best stuff, whatever's your best thing, put it right up at the front. So if that's your portfolio, put your best thing right at the start of your webpage, right in front of your book, whatever it is. You want to hook them. You want to hook them quick. So put it right there at the front. On your reel or your book, only show your best stuff. So I've had this happen where somebody had a great reel and they had some claymation in it. And I'm hiring for 2D animation. They had some claymation, and the claymation was awful. It was. It hurt the reel. So I told him, I'm like, why is this in here? And he said that, he's like, well, I just wanted to show you that I could do claymation. I'm like, don't put anything in your reel that is just to show me anything. Put only your best stuff in there. Only your best. Because my imagination is going to fill in the gaps. Like, oh, if this person's a great animator, then they should be able to handle more or less or whatever of this. So, and that does bring me to the next thing, is make sure you know what's the job you're applying for. Your reel should have that. It's the same thing. If you're applying for a 2D animator, don't give me claymation. Eric. I need my medicine. This is water.
We'll share it around the room.
Yeah, we can all take a hit. So yeah, and sometimes I know that you're really close to your stuff. You've worked on it for months, and and then out of those months you got a 20-second clip. So it's hard for you sometimes to determine what is your best stuff. So you've got to get input and show your friends, show people, talk to your friends about it, show them. Like, hey, what do you think? Should I take this on, take it off? What I should do? Because it needs to be boom, 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 fast, fast, fast. So get input. Don't try to just do it in your head, because you're gonna, you're so close to it, you know where all the bodies are buried. So it's gonna be tough to kind of, to pick sometimes. And, it always helps to get input for that stuff. When you're doing, and this is still mostly reels, the music on your reel kind of sets the tone for what you want to show. So, make sure you pick something that, I tend to like to pick things in my reel that is kind of upbeat, that makes people feel good. It's like got a good beat to it, and I like to pick something that is up. Now, it doesn't fit all the animation styles, the upbeat music. You might have something that's a bit somber. So just know that, I've seen people pick some pretty depressing songs. I'm just like, oh. and it's great animation, but it does set the tone in the art director's head just a little bit. And you don't want to give me, if I'm the one hiring you, you don't want to give me any ammunition against you. You want to keep it like, as much as, it's very competitive. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling. It's very competitive field. So don't give me any reason at all to say no. Okay, good. You nodded yes. You really, anything that might, I'm trying to be careful with my words, just because you still should be you, but don't give me a reason to say, oh, well, Jason is great, but, I don't know, that kind of thing. You just want to do it. Make sure in your portfolio, make sure I don't want to say make sure, there's different theory, different styles, everybody has their own drawing style, but if you're going to be working on a show that I'm directing, and let's say Aqua Teen, it needs to match the look of Aqua Teen. So, and it needs to match the style of Aqua Teen. So what I'm looking for in your reel, in your portfolio, is can you do that? Can you draw in my style? Because you're not going to be drawing your own style. If you're doing character design and stuff like that, if you're directing, that's different. But if you're coming on a show, you want to vary your styles, vary as much as you can do, because if you widen your skill set, it increases your chance of getting work. The smaller studios hire people that can do multiple things. So when the studio was smaller I was working at, we were at Radical, when we first were going on Radical, it was 5 people. And we were working on Aqua Teen, and then we started doing some other stuff. But I was doing animation, I was doing backgrounds, I was doing storyboards, I was doing all these things because I was the only one that could really do it, because it was all around me because we were a small studio. So when you're smaller like that, you can take on more hats. So when those hats then, as a director, as I've come up as a director, being able to have done that and know how to do that, I've taken those lessons when I'm directing people. And, sorry, let me get this again. So when your style goes back for the show, what I'm looking for in your portfolio is, can you draw like me? And the more examples you can have of that, the better. I think I've talked to a couple of you guys in here about that. I know you specifically. I said, hey, widen your shot. Try to get some other styles. Try to draw something that I would know what they look like. I know, like Scooby-Doo or Powerpuff Girls or some of those commercials or whatever, something that's on the air now, so I can look at it and see how good you can hold a model. And that goes for animation too. And I'm looking at when I'm hiring, I'm looking at your portfolio and I'm like, how is this person gonna do with holding the model, doing different things, stretching out, whether it's sitting, whether it's the back of their head, all that kind of stuff. I'm looking for if you can hold that model and if you can hold it in the animation. Because that's another thing, is I'm looking to see, can this person, when they're animating, can they perform like those characters? If they exist already. A lot of times it's new shows and new projects and all that kind of stuff. So, the other thing, I gotta look at my notes.
You're doing great.
I am also looking, one of the biggest things I'm looking for is not only is the talent has to be there. It just has to be there. There's no doubt. I mean, you've all been going to school for this. You've all been training. You've all been drawing. At least I hope you have. But what I'm also looking for is, are you humble? Are you directable? Because that is huge. In this industry, and Fernie can tell you, you're working with a ton of people, and everybody's got to get along. If I'm going to see you more than I see my wife and kids, you better be cool. But that's one of the things I'm looking for is, are you directable? Will you fight me on notes? Do I have to explain every note I give you? Are you going to be a pain in the ass to deal with? That's part of it. And like I said earlier, don't give me any ammunition against you, because I got to tell you a story. There's this guy. He came in. This was the very first time we were starting an internship program. This was probably 04, somewhere in there. And we were like, well, we need some help, and let's start training some people, and this will help everybody. So we're looking at interns. So we whittled it down to 2 people. The girl that came in, she was very humble. She was very nice. She was very sweet. And her style, she had a nice style. Her drawings weren't quite as there as I would normally have liked, but she was very directable. She was great. The other guy came in, and he had been through Disney's training program. he was clearly the most talented person, but he knew it. And he let everybody know. He literally came in, sat down, I'm sitting over there, he sat down for the interview and was like, "Hey man, what's up?" And it's like, are you kidding me right now? He came in and we talked for a while, and he felt like he knew he had it because the talent was there, but his attitude was so bad. So we didn't hire him, and I think he was shocked. And we chose the girl instead, and she did a fantastic job. And then months, or maybe a year later, it was a while later, that same guy that we turned down had gotten a internship at what was then Turner, now Warner Brothers. And back then, internet wasn't quite the way it is now. We would take the shows and load them onto a drive and then literally give it to an intern, and they would drive it to the studio, back and forth. Yes, I know, your eyes are that big, yes. That's back also when we were doing stuff on paper. And he was that guy. So he showed up at our studio to pick up a show. And he came up to me, he's like, "Hey man, you remember me?" Oh, remember me? He literally had his hands out like this. "You remember me?" And I said, "Yeah, I remember you." He's like, "You missed out." I'm gone. I am not joking. He said, "Yeah, you missed out. I'm gone now. I'm gone."
No.
Yes. Yes. And I was like, "Oh darn, I'm just fine." And then I found out later that all the Turner people hated him. They all because of that kind of stuff. So he didn't. I don't think he lasted very long, and I could not tell you what he's doing today. But like I said, being humble, being directable, is literally half of it. The talent, you know, when you're looking at 200 people for 5 jobs, talent's part of it. The other part is, are you cool? Are you cool to hang out with? Do we understand you? Are you going to not give me trouble? Are you going to be directable? Do I see a future in you? I'm always looking for somebody to hire that can be the next director. I'm always looking for that. And not all directors feel like this, but I want you to want my job. Some people hire folks that are less than them so they can feel better. I want to do the opposite. I want to hire better than me so that you guys can make me better. How about that? But I want you to want my job because then you work better. You produce better work. You feel like the future. You want to keep pushing, and that's what I want. It's all about the project when you're hiring for these things. It's not ego. And not everybody's like that. There are a lot of places, but if you want to be a good director and hire good people, you got to check your ego, and you got to hire people that are directable, but frankly, are better. Because there's a lot of you guys in here that are better than me. Okay. Some of the more specific things that I look for is in your reel, do you have good timing? The timing is huge. You know, are you telling the joke well? Do you have a hold on, you know, if you're doing an animation, is that hold on for a little bit too long? And then it suddenly drops, and then when your hand drops, is it suddenly stopping, or is there a little overshoot? I'm looking at the little details, because anybody can draw this. Anybody can animate this. The faster it is, the easier it is to animate. It's the slow things that are the hardest. The slower things are where those little details are that I'm looking for. I'm looking at your acting. I'm looking at your timing. I'm looking at your tweens. Are your tweens clean? Are they clean tweens? If I'm looking at an animation and say, here's your drawing here, here's your drawing here, and your tweens go up, down like this, then it's gonna pop. And I'm looking at that. I'm looking, are your tweens clean? That's huge. When it looks professional, that's the goal. To make it look as professional as possible, whether it's your reel, your portfolio, whatever it is you want it to look as professional as you can. Man, I just rambled so much, I went skipped right down my list. The other thing too is that I'm looking for in your portfolios is time. Time is money. How I have no idea when you did your projects on your own, whether it's an illustration or animation. I have no idea how long you spent on it. So the test is important. That's a big part of the test, is time. How long is it taking you? Because honestly, time is money. We all know that. The longer you take, the more expensive it's gonna get for the production, for everything, you know. If we have to extend a deadline because we're not getting the job done on it in a timely manner, then that makes the studio look bad too, to whoever it is that's buying the product. So time is a big, big deal. It's hard to judge on how long things take, so when you do go for interviews and tests and that kind of thing, you know, that's probably gonna come up, how long did this take you? And be honest. You gotta be honest, because if it takes, I had one guy, we gave him a test, and he told us, we gave him it was a small test, I think we gave him a couple of days, and he told us that it took only a certain amount of time, and no, we can tell. They can tell. A good art director, a good animation director can tell. And I've also had the opposite, where not in the test, but when people were doing their work and they would bill their work, they would bill for more hours than were actually in the days they did it. It's like, really, dude, really? I gave this to you Friday, you're gonna do it on the weekend and you're billing me for 85 hours when it wasn't that much. I've seen that too. So you gotta be honest with your time, and you know, because we can tell. I want to stop here. I meant to show it earlier, but we'll show my reel. Let's show my reel. And it's still not the best, I will admit, but like I said, the goal is to make it look as professional as possible. Upbeat song. Okay, I think it went over.
No, you kept us. You kept us. You have our attention.
I
You
would
have our
have
attention.
timing myself, but. That was a pilot. do that. Minute 8? I haven't looked at this in a year. Oh, minute 45. See, I didn't even follow. You notice how it did feel a little long? It did feel a little long. And, you know, when you're doing a reel, try not to repeat. You know, I know a lot of you work on group projects, that kind of thing. And so when I'm an art director and I'm looking at your reels, I'm looking at all your buddies too. And they are showing the same thing that you're showing. So I've seen the clip over and over and over. So it is a good idea to have on there what you actually did, like somewhere where it might be down in the corner, it might be on a separate thing, like with a list, because when you're looking for a job and I see that same clip over and over and over and over, that's one of the things we'll use, like, oh, okay, Andy and Eric had the same clip, so who did what on that clip? I think Eric's gonna shoot you. So I think that, so we go back and we look at like, oh, okay, Andy did storyboards or whatever, and Eric did the cleanup animation, you know, whatever it is. So we try to show that.
Q&A. Do you have time for Q&A?
Yeah, I still have tons to go over.
Okay.
That was all, that's basically my tips for the portfolio and what those things I'm looking for. So I've got what you want to, I'll make it quick.
Oh, no, you can take your time.
I'll talk very slow. So if you don't get the job, if you're applying for these things and you don't get the job, and chances are you probably won't, just be for sheer numbers, like I just told you. 200 people applied for Aqua Teen 2 years ago. But if you don't get the job, you can't take it personal. You can't take it personal. You never, and I say that for me too, because then I see my friends on LinkedIn and I'm like, oh man, they got the job, you know, that kind of stuff. I see that, I know. But there's so many different circumstances that an art director goes through that it's like, and some of it may have nothing to do with you. I've had jobs where I had people in mind and I'm like, hey, that job I think is gonna open up anytime. I think that job's gonna open up. And I'll string them on, not on purpose, for months. And then all of a sudden, they pull the plug on the whole project. You never know. You never know. It could be the fact that, you know, it could be as little as you ask for more money. It could be anything. It literally could be anything. So in like acting, the same way, it's like you can't take it personal if you're just not the fit for that job, you know. And, you know, if I see your work and I'm like, oh, they can't draw like Aqua Teen, or I don't think they can, then that's probably it. Or could be a million things. You just can't take it personal. So if you don't get the job, you gotta keep moving forward, keep drawing. There has never, ever, ever been a time where you could get your stuff out there in front of so many people so easy. Never. You know, like YouTube, showing projects, you can just email stuff, you can put things out there, you can work with group projects. Back when I was first working, I had to put everything on a VHS tape and send them a VHS tape. So I had to go find the jobs. They weren't just listed on the internet. You had to go and find them. You had to find the studios. You had to go do research, and you had to mail them a tape. And just do that. And then it got better where you could do CDs. So then you would put everything on a CD, but you still had to ship them a CD. You still had to do that. This is before YouTube and all that stuff. So now, with social media, with YouTube, with TikToks, with all those things, there's no reason, none whatsoever, other than you, to get your stuff in front of people. None. And I know, you know, somebody that doesn't like to toot their own horn and talk about myself. I get it. And it's hard to be creative when you're in a storm or, you know, when things are going on in your life, but you gotta keep marching forward, keep drawing. I mean, let's face it, you're probably gonna be drawing anyway. You gotta keep going. But you gotta number one, finish it, and number two is show people, get it in front of people. Do those group projects. Group projects are the best thing to help you to get a job, to help you get better, to help you get in front of people. Because whether you like it or not, you are networking. Whether you know it or not, you are networking. When you're in a group and Ginger here dropped the ball and she said she was gonna do some cleanup tweens for me, and it's been a month in Zippo. That tells the other team, the rest of the people on the team, a lot. So then when Andy here gets a job that was on that same group, and the job says, hey Andy, yeah, we really gotta step up. Do you know anybody? Guess who he's not gonna say?
Sorry.
He's not gonna say the person who screwed him. And it follows you. But if you do badass job, and you're doing great, and he's like, yeah, Eric, man, he nailed it. He did great on this project. You gotta get Eric. Whether you like it or not, or know it or not, you really are networking. And it's huge. So those group projects are a great way to show what you can do, but also learn new things and get better. Because when you're not working, you need to be doing new things and keep moving forward, no matter what. Keep moving forward. It can be slower, it could be faster, whatever it is, you gotta keep moving forward. Now, I have a couple things that if you do actually get the job, you are going to get notes. Yes, even you, Eric. Everybody gets notes. You're going to get notes. I was on the one show, Dicktown, and these guys were lovely people. They never, they were very nice, but they had never done animation before. These were live action guys, and that's the worst, because you have to train them along with your team. Yeah, heck those live action guys. Well, when live action guys come to animation, they don't see it the same. They see it in live action eyes. So they would give notes, like for Dicktown, we had, for a pass of the show, it was an 11-minute show, we had 400 notes. 400 notes. And they were like little, just a million nitpicky notes. Some big, some small. And I'm like, guys, you're gonna kill the budget. I can't keep going back and forth like this. So I talked to him and I said, look, as a director, what I would do, and unbeknownst to the team working for me, that I would barter with them. And I'd say, yes, I can do this, but then I can't do that. And I would take away some of the harder notes. And I said, there's been notes that we said we could do. It's like, yes, we can do this, but it's a $10,000 note. Because you got to go back through the whole thing and this was, that actually happened on that show, Unsupervised. We told them they wanted to change one of the characters' design after it had been animated.
Whoa.
Yes, you feel my pain. You feel my pain. And they were like,
Oh my God.
and we're like, you guys approved this. And they said, yeah, this is kind of a big deal, we know, but we need to change it. And we're like, okay, we can do it, but it's gonna be a $10,000 note. And they forked up the money.
Oh.
They did. Yes. And it was a very difficult note. We're talking about reanimating, and this was before Harmony, so this was in Flash. So yeah, I know. So it was literally a lot of it was frame by frame fixing. So I had to go back and redo a lot of it. And so not all the notes you get are necessarily from the director themselves. It could be from creators, it could be stuff, and a good director should be filtering stuff to you. So they're fighting the battles behind the scenes for animators, for the artists, that kind of stuff. Not all of them, but the good management should be doing it. But you're going to get notes. I get notes, we all get notes, you're gonna get notes. So don't think you're not gonna get notes. And especially if you start a new job, you're going to get notes because everybody's getting notes. When you're starting a new gig, everybody's learning it. Everybody's learning the process. When you're starting a new show, especially, everybody's learning the show. Nobody knows this show. We're trying to figure it out. You could have a great plan, but things change the whole time. So you're going to get notes. Just remember that you're always going to get notes. And notes are good. I know that's weird to say, but notes are good. Notes are good. Because that means they care. If it's from a network, if it's from your boss, notes means they care enough about the project to make the tweaks to make it right. If they didn't give you any notes, that's when I get scared. Because that means they don't care. They could mean they don't care, or you're just that damn good. I did have a project last year that I did for Adult Swim, and they didn't give me no notes. And I was like, oh crap. No notes. That means this is not gonna air, it's not gonna happen. My mind was going into bad places. So I called somebody over there, and I called them, and I'm like, hey man, is everything okay? And they're like, yeah, what are you talking about? I said, well, I didn't give you notes. And they're like, yeah, no notes, it's great. And I'm like, no, from the world I'm in, no notes is bad. There's always notes. But that was an instance that there wasn't. Oh, hi. Let's see, what else we got? You will make mistakes. You will make mistakes. We all do. The directors do. Whether they admit it or not, they make mistakes. And you're going to make mistakes. So own it. Lean into it. You're learning. And a good director is going to know that. A good director is going to expect the mistakes. Especially just starting a new project. You expect it. That's why when you're scheduling these things, you schedule more time for the first episode, and then the second episode a little bit less, third one a little bit less. After that third one, you should be cruising. It takes 3 episodes to really get going, but you always put so much time up front because everybody's learning the show. The pacing, everything. Communication is giant. If you are struggling, let them know. Oh, I know that sucks to say. Because I'm the kind of person that wants to fight through it and fight it and move through it. And of course there's a level, you don't want to be a complainer. But if you are having if you're having issues, I know I tell people that work for me, I've got so much work to do. Let's just trade out scenes. There's always a scene everybody struggles with. There's always a character design. There's always something everybody struggles with. And when you're at a job and you do that stuff, take a break from it. Move it to the side, or if there's a team, switch out teams, but talk about it. You don't bottle it up and feel like you have to fight through it, because then what you're doing, you're taking time. And we said time is so big in the beginning. Time is money. Present solutions and not problems. I've had another show. I can talk forever, by the way. You can stop me anytime you want.
Maybe a last one, and then we can get some questions.
Okay. Let me make sure it's a good one. Yep. Present solutions, not problems. I've had directors come to me, I should say. This guy was a composite director. So he was putting everything together, adding a lot of lights, effects, all that kind of stuff. And this was on a show. And he was like, Todd, this doesn't work. I'm not a composite guy. I don't know After Effects. You got to present me with solutions. And this is one of those things I look for. A good leader, a good director is going to say, hey, I had this problem right here, but I figured out if I do this and do this, I can fix it and I can move forward. We can move forward. That's what I need as a director. I need people like that. I need people that are thinking ahead, that are presenting solutions, not problems. And that's so helpful, so helpful. The biggest thing, this is the last thing I'm gonna say, is enjoy the ride. And I know it's a lot of work when you're on these projects, all-nighters, all these things, but then you have it forever. You have it forever. You have your name on that show forever. You have that group connection from that group project. You have that forever. You made friends. You have all these things. You have them in your memory. You have them forever. Hey, I did that. Hey, look at what I did. And then you can sleep. And you can rest. So I guess that's it. That's my tips for trying to help you guys get work. Those are my tips for helping all you guys to get work. I want everybody working. I want everybody here working. And when this industry does change, hopefully it will soon. When the industry changes, we'll all be working and we'll all be getting jobs. And I hope that this can help you all. So, thanks, guys. Oh, and by the way, I am with you guys. I am currently not working myself, but luckily I have some projects that I've sold, so I'm moving forward on my own stuff. So, exactly, you gotta pivot, and you gotta roll with it. So thanks everybody. Thank you. Except for Andy.
So we're gonna take some questions for whoever wants
Yes.
to have questions, but we also have a chat. If you don't want to use the microphone, you can also add your question in the chat as well too. We've already seen a couple here, and I think somebody on the YouTube also said you're a WWE type of dude. My goat, marry me. Freddie, could you help me with the?
Wait, could you give me their info?
Yeah, it says Clary.
All right. If you're watching on YouTube, let me just say something to you, Clary. Yes. All right. I saw a hand up in the back. All right.
So for someone interested in writing, what would be like an entry-level position or, so for someone interested in writing, what would be like an entry-level position and what are you going to be doing for portfolio?
Okay, writing is a subject that is very new to me as far as that kind of stuff, because like I said, I'm doing my own project, so I'm doing some writing. But you're also looking at probably the hardest way to break into this, because, you know, like animation-wise, I'm hiring 20 animators, I'm hiring 5 compositors, I'm hiring all these different jobs. Writer, there might be 1. And usually the projects already have the writer attached. So my advice for a writer would be keep writing and doing it and getting it out there and trying to get an agent. Is try to keep pushing, because I honestly, like for shows and everything like that, I don't know how you break in as just a writer unless you're the creator. Now, it's out there, you can, but I'm not sure. That's not my forte. All right.
What's the biggest fish you've caught?
What's the biggest fish I got? Oh my goodness. Anonymous says that. I think I know who Anonymous is. I did catch a 33-pound catfish. That's the biggest fish ever caught.
Were you noodling or were you?
I was not noodling. Actually, believe it or not, I caught it off the dock in about 5-6 feet of water. Right under, it was so windy, I just fished straight down with a minnow. That big, tiny little minnow. But that catfish must have been hungry, because he came up and it was, I battled him for an hour. Because I was with a pole that couldn't handle that big of a fish. So I just took it easy. All right.
We also have this. What do you look for in background artists?
Background artist, what am I looking for? That's a good question. Background, I'm looking for, are you gonna be able to do the style of the show is the biggest part. Because can you match the painting style? You know, it's kind of the same with animation, the same with the character design. I'm looking at the style that you're doing it, and you should know the software. Everything's done in Photoshop these days. Everything's done on the computer with some tweaks. So I'm looking at, can you paint in that style? Now, sometimes, you know, because styles can be all over the place. We'll do animation, we'll do shows where we're doing the show, we're doing whatever we're animating in, we're drawing the backgrounds in that. Or we're doing it in, you know, Photoshop or whatever. But the biggest thing is style. The number 2 is perspective. Do you know perspective? Can you get perspective? Perspective is giant when you can't get that perspective right, and it causes the director to kind of go things over and over and over and over because you can't quite get your perspective. That's a lot. So it takes some training, and it takes a while to get the perspective right. But it's also difficult. You know, you're doing a goofy show. If you're doing, you know, like Courage the Cowardly Dog, if you guys know what that show is. If you're doing Courage, perspective's a little wonky, you know, the house side is going like this, so it's more about the style than the perspective. But you still gotta know it. You gotta know the perspective. Little side note was, Courage the Cowardly Dog was the very first thing I ever directed. I directed a commercial. It was a commercial.
Still counts.
But the very first thing I ever directed was a Courage the Cowardly Dog commercial for Latin America.
It's Johar.
So not an art
Johara.
question.
Okay.
But what do you value the most in like a production staff, whether that's like a PA or a coordinator or a manager or a producer? Like what stands out to you? What kind of person is going to be able to best support the studio, the production pipeline?
You can just ask Sydney that right in front of you. Because she is lights out, been fantastic working with me. So that's the most valuable to me. I need somebody that I can show things, get honest feedback, and that'll call me out. that will give me notes and like, hey, Todd, this isn't quite right, but can help me to keep the train moving straight. And like I said earlier, I'm not perfect, nobody's perfect, we're all gonna make mistakes, so I need somebody to help correct me. That's what I look for. Does that help?
Yes. Except you're welcome.
What do we got?
Should 2D animation people keep their eyes on in Atlanta?
What companies? Ooh, oh boy. That's a great question. So I have friends at many different companies and in studios, and so I loved, I worked at Floyd County for 13 years. Originally I was like, okay, I'll give this 2 years. 13 years later, so that should tell you something. Floyd County, they're still there, but everybody's hurting right now. So if you're on YouTube and you're at Floyd County, I'm sorry, I know we're all hurting. So I just noticed the line was right here, so I'm trying to, there we go, I'm trying to break it. Bento Box is in Atlanta, Awesome Inc. is in Atlanta.
Adult Swim?
Who?
Adult Swim.
Adult Swim is in Atlanta. Adult Swim is doing their own animation now, which they've never done before.
And in addition, you can check our ASIFA website for resources.
Exactly.
We have an animation map.
Don't you have you have a map with different
Yes,
places
we
on it.
do.
So there's there's gaming studios, there's a lot of places now, but I know that everybody's kind of feeling it. So these days, I don't know, but those are some of the friends of mine that I've worked with in the past.
Question.
In here. Oh, good.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
I know you.
I know you.
Yes.
It's good to see you.
Hi.
Hi. For 2D animators, for their demo reel, and apologies if we covered this already, by the way. I'm debating whether to try to learn as many animation programs as possible right now because there are so many versus just focusing on the fundamentals and applying for jobs. Do you have any advice in that regard in terms of stack skills, in terms of learning programs while having a solid understanding of 2D animation?
Yes.
Or put everything into bettering your 2D animation skills and then you'll learn the program, like as it pops out?
Okay. That's a great question. Your 2D skills first. Your drawing skills first, your animation skills first, because everything else is just a medium. It's all just different paints on the same canvas. You're still drawing, you're still doing that kind of stuff. So that's number one. Number two is, okay, if you've been working in Harmony, which I know you have.
Yeah.
You've been working in Harmony, and Harmony is going great and everything, but then you notice, okay, a lot of people are moving over to Animate because it is cheaper, it is simpler, it's easier. If you do see studios doing that, then you need to learn it.
Okay.
And I've heard some things about some folks have been telling me to check out. Is it Mojo?
Moho.
What?
It looks amazing.
Moho.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of friends are telling me to check out Moho. That seems to be kind of a new trend these days. So, but when you're not working, learn new software. Push yourself. Learn new things because you've got to keep up with the times. I've got friends that when we were doing everything on paper, we would draw it, then we would put another piece of paper over it, and we'd ink it, and we would do ink lines, and we would do everything on paper, and everything was like this, and less in the computer. Well, now it's all on the computer, and some of those folks didn't make that transition to the computer. And so you've got to always be learning new things. So you take the downtime and you use that to improve your skills so you can broaden your scope of work.
Thank you.
Cool, yeah.
We have a question from YouTube, on audience. I understand that the industry is going through a rough time at the moment. Are the tax incentives being increased in Atlanta in order to entice future contracts?
So I've heard that they have.
We have the 25% and the 5% for editing as well too, but these tax incentives are things that they can go away at any time.
Yes.
So it would definitely be in your interest to get involved. There's a annually a film day at the Capitol. So I encourage folks to look at that. We'll post that up in our ASIFA-South as well.
I do know that, I think the governor has passed some stuff to try to get Hollywood back and things like that back, so, yeah.
And so the
Yeah.
question though, and we have this one up here. You
Okay.
mentioned earlier that you may not get the job if you ask for too much money. How can you make sure you get paid a fair amount but not ask for too much?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. It's tough, money is always tough to talk about. Usually when I'm hiring, I'll have a range. So I have a range for the rookies. I have a range for middle, and then I have ranges for the veterans that know what they're doing. So it's usually a range. Now, that question is more for the veterans. I've seen veterans price themselves out a lot. Where in their work, I've seen their work, and their work was kind of more in the middle, but they thought that they should be out here. So it's always difficult. So if you're a rookie and you're just starting out, then, I mean, you just say yes, really.
We're actually adding a wage database to our resource page.
Oh,
that
there you
everyone
go.
can
That'd be
enroll in
fantastic.
the next month.
That'd be fantastic, because when I did, and I will consult with you on it if you want, because I did a lot of the
Yes.
hiring and that kind of stuff, so,
Absolutely.
you know, it's not just the wages, you're looking at, the costs. So, you know, if you got interns, I mean, let's say you're not paying the interns anything, there's still a cost for the intern, because you got computer equipment, you have a desk, you have space, you have all those things that, okay, I could put somebody else in there that's more of a veteran, but that I don't have all this stuff to deal with, but you want to raise up the next level. So it's cost versus wages. And it's the way it is. Usually I'm given a budget. So let's say, okay, Todd, you give $100,000, I gotta divvy that up. So I wanna break it up, and so then it's like, okay, if I have some rookies, they can offset some of the veterans, and then middle, but you've gotta have that veteran, middle, rookie. You always gotta have that.
We should add that as a presentation all by itself too.
Yes, yes.
Question.
Hi,
Hello, what's your name?
I'm Deja.
Hey, Deja.
How is it transitioning from like an animator up to like a director? Like,
Oh,
was
boy.
it a smooth transition or?
No. It's scary as crap. It's scary because you're in charge of the whole thing. So you're in charge of that whole department. You're in charge of everything. Now, if you go up slowly, it's usually not that big of a deal. But at first, it's very scary because now you're not only responsible for your stuff, but a lot of other people. And when crap goes wrong, guess who they're gonna talk to? You. So you're in charge of everything, so you wanna help everybody along because then it helps you. And again, I'm gonna raise up Fernie over there. Fernie can tell you too. Yeah, it's scary and it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. I know plenty of people that I've worked with that turned down the director role because they didn't want that. They didn't want that responsibility. Also too, the higher you go up, the more you direct and the more you do, the less and less of the animation. Like if you're an animation director, the less of that you'll do. The less of the actual drawing you'll do, the less of this. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and between that, here, on top another question.
Okay.
It's like a speed round.
Yeah.
How valuable are parts of the solo project when you did everything in your reel, and how does it compare to putting pipeline work where you did rough animation only, as an example, in a group project?
In a group project.
Solo versus.
I mean, I don't know if it's, I wouldn't put a value on either one that's higher than the other. Sometimes that rough animation is brilliant. And a good director that's looking at it can see that. But you need to have some clean animation in there too. So a group project then, if you're working on the group that's rough and you just did the rough stuff, that's great. I just want to see the rough stuff. And if you're doing solo, that's great too, because I want to see how you do your own timing, how you handle the solo stuff. So I want to see how you handle all those situations. So they're both very valuable.
And in the same vein as the question, do you, when you start out a portfolio, do you want to present yourself as a generalist or a specialist?
Ooh. I think that depends on the job. That depends on what you're going for. If you're applying at a small company that's 10 people, I think more of a generalist. But if you're at a big company that's 250 people, then you probably want to narrow that down a little bit.
Who's got a mic?
I know, like, after
Guy with the cool hair in the back. Yeah.
I know after, like,
Us hair guys, right?
I know after, like, a long day of working, you probably get home, you're probably really tired, but do you have, like, time set aside to keep creating, or are you, like, totally burnt out after you're at the office all day?
Oh, man, when you are, you're always wanting to be more creative. You're always wanting to do that stuff, but when you're running crew and you're directing, it's usually takes up everything. It usually takes all out of you. Back 15 years ago or so, I was messing around with my own projects, and I was working on my own pitches and my own stuff, and I'm like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. But then I got busier and busier, and then life starts happening. I had kids, and the kids, get busier and busier, and then I realized, I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do everything. It's just too much bandwidth altogether. So I'm like, okay, I got to put this aside for a bit. And now with the size of a break I've had that I've never had before, I'm like, I'm going to revisit those ideas. And actually, some of those are the ones I pitched and sold. So yeah, it's hard, but it does take a lot out of you.
So we'll take this one last and one last question. Okay, two.
20! Let's just stay here forever. We'll just mingle all with microphones.
You guys will come out and you can talk to
Yeah. What are some aspects of a demo reel that you find extra valuable? Do you prefer to see proficiency in jobs like cleanup, rough, and animation? Again, it kind of depends on what I'm hiring for. It depends on what I'm hiring for. If I'm hiring for animation guys, I'm looking at, in my mind, I'm thinking I want somebody that, now when I'm hiring, I hire people that I want to be able to take on keying and tweening and building if they can, if there's time. Because I think that all those are very valuable for the animator and for the animation process. I think that animators should know how to build and tween and do all that stuff. And then I rotate a lot. So the animators maybe not be tweening their own stuff. They might be, so then we can switch things off and it keeps things fresh and that kind of thing. So there's nothing I find extra valuable. It's kind of a whole package deal. And it's kind of, I don't find anything higher than the other, but what I'm looking at is this person gonna fit with what they do? Is this gonna fit the project I'm hiring for? That's the biggest thing. All right, who we got?
Hello, sir. My name is Leslie. Thank you for your time. My question is, you mentioned family and getting busy, but
Yes.
for example, us, right now, we might be very passionate and have like a lot of creativity.
Yes.
We might prioritize that instead of like ourselves or our family. What
Yes.
advice do you have for people like, maybe like,
For people that are focusing on their creativity and not family stuff.
or not family, or not even time for themselves?
Yes, on themselves. Hey, do it while you can. Keep pushing while you can. I look back in my 20s and I'm just like, oh, I've wasted so much time. Because I wasn't doing that. I was I wasn't sure what I was gonna do. I personally didn't think cartoons was a real job that I could get. I went to school at Georgia State, and I was pursuing art at Georgia State, and I got a job doing artwork at a screen print company, and so I was doing illustrations and doing that. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take a break because I'm doing this. And I took a break and never went back. So I never did get my degree. But I learned so much from that, but at the same time, I'm like, now that I know what I know, I look back and like, oh, my 20s, like why? I remember going a whole year not hardly drawing at all. And I know, who said that? Yeah, exactly. And so I, use it while you got it. Because if you think about it, the older you get, what's gonna happen? Your bills get higher, your responsibilities get higher, everything. It never gets any lower until you retire and whatever. But then you won't want to. You're like, I can't draw. So, just keep pushing. Especially if you have an idea of what you want to do, whatever it is, push as early as you can and getting in front of the people the most you can.
Our last offspring question on
He answered that already.
I already said yes to somebody else. So, what the heck? Let's just make it up. Let's just bring him in. We'll just all get married. What the hell?
audience.
Yes. Here, I can do this.
Okay.
I'm Michaela.
Hi, Michaela.
Senior here at KC for
Awesome.
animation. I'm taking my first studio class.
Don't listen to Chris Malone.
I don't even listen to myself.
Okay, so my question is, I'm currently working on a pipeline project with my class.
Okay.
What advice would you give to make things easier for my group as a producer and working as a character developer?
So so let me get this straight. You're producing and doing character designs.
And
Okay.
animation.
The best thing I would say to do is identify the bottlenecks. Identify the bottlenecks. What's gonna hold you back? Is it the fact that you're doing two roles? You gotta keep yourself in that equation. Is it, okay, animation's taking too long? Is you have to stay on top of the bottlenecks and stay ahead of them. Try to see them coming. Like, okay, backgrounds is taking too long. What can we do to maybe simplify backgrounds? You got to be fluid. So, because on these shows and everything, the pipelines change. So you do your best to establish what the pipeline's gonna be, but it rarely ever works the way you want it to, and so you have to pivot and move things around. But identifying those bottlenecks is the biggest thing to help get the pipeline move smooth.
Thank you.
Sure.
Last question.
Yeah.
I want to be a movie director.
Okay.
But I don't have much experience. I mean, I know like a lot of knowledge, but when I really want to direct and write, so do I need to know like animation because I always thought like people could animate and I can just write the story and direct it.
So you want to be a director? Do you want to be an animation director?
Well, I was wondering like move and really direct like my ideas, like my stories.
Yes. Okay. If you want to be a director, nobody's going to just hand you a director job. Nobody. They're not going to say, Andy over there, Andy, I know I just met you, but I'm hiring for directors. There we go. I'm hiring for directors. Would you like to direct? That's not going to happen. That doesn't happen. You have to prove yourself, and you have to sell yourself, and you have to show that you can be a director. So you do have to do those projects. Now, whether you're doing it yourself, or you're getting a team together, or you're hiring people, whatever it is, you have to make it happen. So if you want to be a director, you have to push and you have to show that you can be a director. Does that make sense? So like YouTube, you got to put your stuff together, get it on YouTube, show people, get some feedback, get honest feedback from friends, colleagues, that kind of stuff. Try not to get honest feedback from mom and dad. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Especially with the age gap, my mom still after, I did an episode of Aqua Teen where there was a lot of penises, and so I still hear about that from my mom. She's like, no, it's more like, hey mom, you want to see this I work on? Well, it's not another penis, is it? I literally get that every time I show my mom stuff. So the point is, no matter what, if you want to do music, what do you got to do? You got to prove it. You got to show it. If you're going to do animation, you got to show it. If you got whatever it is. But directing, especially, you have to prove it. You have to show what you can do, and you have to get inspired, and you have to stay inspired. That's the hard part.
Thank you, Todd.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you guys for having me.
Also, thank you to our sponsors who are some studios. You should check out.
Yes, I know these people, and for those of you that proposed to me, let's talk. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. I'll be around, so you can hang